Alright, this is Eric with Inspiring Music Writer YouTube page. And this is going to be a pretty short video. This is going to be my movie review of the 2004 film Grand Theft Parsons. I'm going to get a little bit of background of what it's about, and then we'll talk about the movie. Or I will, not y'all, but I will. Comment if you want to. Graham Parsons was the first guy in music history, American music history, to take country and rock and mold it together till it was his own genre called country rock, which he hated that term with a passion, and he dubbed it as cosmic American music. His background's a little bit different. He grew up rich. He didn't have to suffer like a lot of musicians do trying to make it. He was associated with Chris Hillman from the Byrds. Actually took over the Byrds over one album on Sweetheart of the Rodeo, International Submarine Band, which is probably the first country rock band there ever was. Maybe, I don't know if it was out before Poco. I'd have to look that up. That was another kind of country rock band. Before the Eagles, he was about a decade before the Eagles. 8, 9 years before the Eagles. But anyways, he didn't care. He cared about money, but he didn't. He cared a lot about his music. He made 5 or 6 albums his whole life. He died at the age of 26. So over heroin and tequila overdose. And that kind of is where the movie starts. But he had a road manager named Phil Kaufman. And they made a pact, whoever died first, they would cremate their body and spread their ashes in Joshua Tree, California. That was just a pact they made. I've never read a lot up on Phil Kaufman, but he's been in the music industry a long damn time. But Phil Kaufman said the first thing that Graham asked him to do, said he borrowed $5 for a case of beer from him. So he goes, that's kind of the guy Graham was. And I got discovered from him from a buddy of mine, and I didn't know anything about country rock or anything like that. And it was actually him watching this show. He told me about it, and I became obsessed with Graham Parsons. So he helped Emmylou Harris start her career. He had the last 2 records he did. He wanted a solo singer, girl singer, and is either Birdie Lyndon of the Flying Burrito Brothers and the Eagles, or Chris Hillman, I can't remember which one, said, well, there's this chick in Birmingham, Alabama, you need to check out. She's a perfect songwriting partner, or not songwriting, but singing partner, duets. He wanted his, like Tammy Wynette, like George had, and Kenny had Dolly, and, Johnny had June, and all that stuff, that's what he wanted. So they finally convinced him to go down there, and they met at the train station. It was just history from then on. But anyways, that's kind of a background. Look him up. He's more on the countryside than the rock side, but if it weren't for him, there wouldn't be a lot of these artists out there today. You wouldn't have, I don't think you'd have, you certainly wouldn't have the Eagles, because I know one of the members of the Eagles, Murray Ledden, came from the Flying Burrito Brothers. Chris Hillman was in the Byrds with Roger McGuinn and the rest of that group, and what I remember is they were wanting to do like all kinds of rock record, ended up being more folk and country. Is when, because Graham was very charismatic, you know, and as much money as he did, I think from what I remember, he had an inheritance of like $50,000 a year, and this was in the early '60s, late '60s, mid '60s. So that was a lot of money back then. So you know, like I said, Graham never really had to suffer like the other ones did, you know. Excuse me, like I said, check them out. But anyway, that's kind of where it starts, is what happened where the movie starts, and what happened in real life too. Is he just got through recording the last record that he did with Emmylou Harris, and I think it was called Grievous Angel. And he went out to Joshua Tree Inn, which he loved, room 8, and doped up on tequila and heroin, and he died. You know, of course, Phil Kaufman always said he would die anyways, just because he lived fast, die young type mentality. You know, let's live as much as we can today, because tomorrow might not be here. You know, and I think he was right on that, becoming a big old star. You know, and he just didn't make that full mark. I mean, he was an influencer, but like he was there almost. You know, and I think, like Keith Richards said, he was real big friends with Keith Richards. No, I can't even talk. Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones. And Keith said if he would have stayed a little bit more sober, he would have gotten the fame and fortune he deserved. He goes, because Keith Richards said he was one of the greatest singers he ever seen, you know. And, but anyways, and that's kind of where the movie, it starts off with Phil Kaufman getting a phone call about Graham being dead out in Joshua Tree, and he plays for a little bit. And in the movie, Johnny Knoxville plays Phil Kaufman, which I thought was a cool idea. Johnny Knoxville's just a badass, that type of, you know, because he played, you know, on Jackass, and, you know, Dukes of Hazzard with Willie Nelson and Jessica Simpson. I mean, he's just got that type of personality. And you only really see, like, Graham one time in the whole movie. Like I said, it is just like Johnny or Phil envisioning him right before he does what he does. And then Graham Parsons is played by Gabriel Machat, M-A-C-H-T. And then Barbara, his crazy girlfriend, is played by Christina Applegate, Married with Children fame. And then Graham's recent girlfriend is played by Marley Shelton, which was Wendy Peppercorn in The Sandlot. And then there's a hippie guy that he buys a hearse from, and it's yellow. It has flowers all over it. Now, I don't know if that ever actually happened in real life. I have not read that much about that part of Graham Parsons' life. He was played by Michael Corbett Shannon. But it was released 2018 and 2004. Like I said, it's just the trip from him making a pact to, you know, he steals a corpse, and in real life this all happened, but what he does is steal the Graham's body, and from the LAX airport, and I don't know if it was LAX he stole it from, but he did steal his body in the movie, and he wrote like Mickey Mouse or John Nobody or something stupid, but he wrote it in really sloppy English so no one could really understand what Phil was saying. And but like I said, great movie. If you or like a history buff or music history buff. And and he hires this hippie guy to drive the taxi, or he don't want to, he just wants to borrow it, but the taxi driver won't let him. And like he's been coming down off drugs the whole time, and but like I said, that's what the movie. Great movie if you hadn't seen it. I'm not really good at this. This is my very first music or movie review. Sorry, very first movie review. But I think it was like an indie film. Like I don't think it. I don't know because I was so young. Because I did. But I don't know if it played in theaters. But really good. If you're a music buff like me, or interested, and but he just there's just trials and errors of what they go through, and they try to stop them, but no, the cops never do, and Christina Applegate gets pulled over, and she's being hysterical, or Barbara. And she's like, hey, they got a dead body. They're trying to get my boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. And about that time, there's a big explosion. And that's when they Phil Kaufman sets his coffin on fire. And, and then in the movie, they go back and arrest him. They turn themselves in. But what is the weirdest thing is back in 1973 when he died in real life, there was not any laws in California for stealing or for burning a corpse. I think the only thing he got, there's like one little charge he got thrown at him. But I mean, and in Graham's biography, his parents, or not, well, his relatives got really mad at Phil because they just thought it was so horrific that he did that, but that was a pact they made, and he never really felt close to his family, because I think his real father was out of the picture, and his stepdad just didn't want nothing to do with him until he got famous, and started making money and this and that, Like I said, there's a lot of fiction in the movie from what I think really happened, but it's still a badass movie. I mean, check it out if you're a big fan of the Birds, the Flying Breeder Brothers, the Eagles. It's just a great movie. And but I hope you enjoyed this movie review. I know it's kind of sucks because it's my first one, but check out my other videos on Aspire Music Writer on YouTube. Thank you.